All right, dude, look at the sheer amount of tasks here. I mean, this is fucking insane. This is like 25, 30 tasks or something. I don't know, maybe. I spent 13 hours on this, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about when you have a software company, it's easy to kind of focus on the product. And if you're better than that, if you know marketing needs to be a focus, then you might focus a bunch on marketing. But I think there's one thing that kind of tends to fall to the wayside, and that's your CRM, and you're kind of coupling with your app so that you can get feedback, you can get reviews, you can talk to customers and really provide like a first class experience. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. How I've just set that up for my app, and yeah, this I believe is going to be a really beneficial thing for me, my customers, and I don't know. It's a win-win. All right, it's maybe not a win-win-win. There's only two parties involved, but yeah, just I can show you some of these workflows that I have here. So the first thing is that we have inquiries and messages, okay? And so whenever someone is interested in my app, I have a few forms that kind of prevent them from installing the app right away because I don't control that process. My app is an integration for a third-party software. So I don't have like a form when they install the software. Basically, their data comes from the installation. So if they don't install it, if they just go straight to the app and then don't install it, I miss that lead entirely. And so what I have is I have a few things. So first of all, on my website, I have a little chat widget down here. So they can click on this and they can submit their information. This is part of Go High Level. And so basically all we do is whenever they fill out this form, then we create an opportunity in the pipeline. And then we also save that to or we send a text to them. This just helps with context so that I can text them right back and answer their question. And then I also send an email, and it's coming from my personal email address right there. Plus, I notify myself because with all of this stuff, I'm notifying myself to make sure that I can stay on top of all of my, like the customers that need to be taken care of. So that's the first thing is you should have a really easy way for someone to get in touch with you if they just have a question or something like that. And then we have meeting booked. So sometimes, actually, maybe I'll come back to this. Then we have the app inquiry. So the app inquiry is what I was talking about just a second ago. When someone hits install now on my website, they're taken to this form instead of an actual app. And so what they have to do is they have to select the app. And first of all, this is because it redirects them directly to the page where they can install the app. But also, this allows me to collect their name, email, and phone number, and an opt-in for me to spam the fuck out of them. Just kidding. And once they press submit, then it actually takes them to the app form. But what that allows me to do is I can basically catch that that form, and I can save their information. I can send myself a notification. I can send them a message, basically saying, hey, thanks for checking out this app. If you want to get in touch with me, you can either text me or call me, or book a time to call. And then finally, we have this email. So we're sending basically the same thing over email just because maybe they don't provide a phone number or it's invalid or whatever. It's good to, I think, have two separate touch points just because, fuck it, why not? But I'll also show you, this is what happens. So we have this inquiry route. So this is the data that I'm getting. And basically, whenever someone submits an inquiry on my website, that form sends a webhook. I'm using tally.so, by the way, which is a great service. I'm using this API route when they send a webhook to save that inquiry to my database. So I can keep track of this inquiry across different interactions. And another thing that we're doing is we're creating a contact in the CRM. And so when that form is filled out, first we save that inquiry, then we pass that task off to this create contact task. We tag that contact with the app that they were interested in, and we also tag them with send updates if they opted into that. And then we also create an opportunity in the pipeline. So an opportunity, if you're not familiar, is kind of like a deal, or it's like an install. It's like it's a way to kind of track how like people, in a lot of cases it's people if you have one product, but basically deals move across your business, because your business is like a pipeline, you know. So then we're updating that with our opportunity so that we can link to it. And finally, we're sending that webhook over to this workflow. And by the way, I'm using high level here. What we're doing is we're passing. So when we create this contact up here, we're upserting that contact and we're returning our contact ID. And so then when we invoke that workflow with our contact ID, then we're finding the contact that we need to find based on the contact ID right here. And so this gives us basically a perfect link between our back end and our front end, where we're not our front end, but our workflow system and our CRM, where we can just link to those contacts. And regardless of what contact information, like a lot of cases, you're going to link to them via email. But what happens if they change their email or their phone number and they change that, or they get rid of it, or it's not reachable? You got to write logic and you got to figure out how that's going to work. When you use a contact ID, you save yourself a lot of headache. So yeah, basically. And by the way, we're using upsert here. So upsert, if you're not familiar, if you're more from the business world, upsert is update and insert in one. So it'll try to insert, and if there's a conflict where there's a matching phone number or an email already, it'll just update that contact instead of inserting a new one. So you basically always know that you're not going to get duplicate contacts for the same contact information. So anyways, that's our app inquiry. And then we'll see this meeting booked. I'm using cal.com for meetings. I really like Tally and cal.com. They're just great services. But with cal.com, we're sending the webhook when someone books straight here. And you might notice, so if I go to my cal.com app, we have, let me just edit this, and then you could see, under advanced, we have a hidden field here, which is contact ID. And so this has an identifier of just C, because I think it looks better. And basically what's happening is, as you saw in that last kind of link where they could book a meeting, let me just show you this. So when we send them this notification, we're sending this URL to book a call, and then we're passing $C equals that contact ID. So that's a query parameter, and that means when our meeting is actually booked, we're going to get a contact ID, and so we can just link to that contact again in the CRM. So basically, anytime interaction leaves the CRM, we're able to tie back to them using this contact ID. Then we just update that contact with new information if applicable, and we send just a notification that that meeting was booked. Okay, so those are for messages. And then we also have reviews and feedback. Well, I guess I'll just show this first. So whenever someone installs the app, basically we just link to them with the contact ID. We send them a notification. Basically just, I offer this booking link all the time just because I'd rather, spend the 30 minutes and get to know a customer better than not spend the 30 minutes and have no idea who they are. And especially as an early stage kind of startup founder, if you will, you have to know your customers. You have to know what they think about your product, what questions they have, where they're struggling. If you never talk to them, like probably most people aren't even going to text you or ask you a question. They're just going to be like, oh, this app sucks, and never talk to you. So you have to give them an opportunity to talk to you in any way possible. So basically we're just saying thanks for installing this app, and we're giving them a link to some documentation so they can help get started up. And then if they have trouble, then they have that booking link. Finally, we have our review feedback system. So let me just show you this. This is what I just finished just now. So whenever someone installs the app, we add them to this workflow. And what it does is first it waits for 24 hours. I don't know if you've installed a lot of apps on the App Store, but typically you install an app and it's very fast. Like after you've opened it 2 or 3 times, or maybe like 5 minutes into opening it for the first time, they go, hey, leave a review. And that's actually for a good reason. If you waited, a week, they might not be using it. They might have forgotten about it. Ultimately, asking for reviews is not for them. It's for other people so that you can get more users. I mean, it is in some ways for them, especially with a smaller kind of app like mine where I'm actually implementing feedback. But for most apps, if they churn, you want them to leave a review before they churn. So we're only waiting 24 hours, and this should give them a chance to kind of get the app set up and start using it. After 24 hours, we make sure that app is still installed before we ask for a review, and then we stop if it's not. And finally, we invoke our workflow to ask for a review. And so the way this works is, again, we find our contact based on that ID, and then we send a request. And I'm kind of playing with the wording here, but I think this is kind of nearing the cusp of dangerously good. So this is Adam with Streamlined. You installed my app yesterday. From what I've heard, if you start out sentences like me, my, I, people tune out. I got an email from this HubSpot rep the other day, and he said, I had talked to him like ages ago, and I was like, yeah, sorry, I'm not using HubSpot. I just filled out a form to get some free resource. But he sends me an email like a couple weeks ago, and he goes, I'm getting promoted, and I'm not going to be, running this sales operation anymore. So if you want to get in touch with me, then you got to, it sounded, I don't know what a better way to word it would be, because it's true, probably, but you have to kind of word it in a way so that it's putting the focus on them and making it feel more personal rather than just reading some fucking autobiography. So you installed my app yesterday, so I wanted to see what you've thought of the experience so far. Would you be opposed? I don't know if this is really the best copywriting, but it is kind of one of those old-timey tricks. Would you be opposed? Where you go, no, I'm not opposed. Basically, I just want them to click on this link, okay? So would you be opposed to leaving your feedback really quick? Here's the link. So I give them that link, and then same thing for the email. Would you be opposed to leaving your feedback really quick? And this feedback form is tally.so. This is another tally form. This is a tally form where we're passing in our customer ID as C. This is a different C, so maybe confusing, but C is customer ID in this case, and then A is app key. And so that'll allow us to tie this review to a certain installation and customer. And so I give them that link, and then let's just come back out here, and I'll show you what this looks like. So, would you be opposed to leaving your feedback? And we can see that C and A parameters got passed in. And I'll click on this, and all it is this 5-star question. What do you think of the app so far, taking everything into account? I'm trying to make them have kind of the most positive overall sentiment. My app really, at the beginning, is focused a lot on support and kind of other stuff. So, all right, I just had to add a space up here because this button was bothering me. But basically, I didn't intend to do this. Well, here's what it is. So first of all, this is review gating. So if I click 2 stars and I hit next, this is going to redirect them to a different URL, not the page where they can leave a review. So it says, I'm sorry, please leave some feedback and let me try to fix this for you. If they leave a 5-star review, then it says a totally different thing, and it's going to forward them to the page where they can leave a review on the app. But the other benefit of this is if they say 5 stars, then they've kind of, it's not like a conscious decision. It's like if you've ever read Influence by Robert Cialdini or Persuasion, those are both amazing books. Even if you're not interested in sales or whatever, they're just very interesting. So you kind of get them to make a decision like, yeah, I think the app's good. I'll give it 5 stars. Then that's kind of an initial commitment. This is a whole chapter in Influence by Robert Cialdini. This is a whole thing where they kind of create this initial commitment to do something. And so now they're going to feel more, not like obligated, but like their mind tells them like, you're already taking action. You might as well just go through with this. So what they can do is once they've left a 5-star review, then they hit next, and it's going to take them to the page where they can leave a review. And of course, for me, I don't have the right, go high level, whatever. It's going to be the app listing where they can leave a review, as long as they're signed in. They do have to be signed in, but they should be. So that's kind of what happens. And then also, we're asking them, let me find where it is. And so, funny enough, I just published this, but I don't see it working. Oh, no, here we go. So once they press 5 stars and they hit next, it's asking them to leave a review, and it just redirects them by default. But it doesn't actually, I mean, they don't have to leave a review, and they haven't yet. But what I'm saying here is, thanks for agreeing to leave a review, which is kind of implying that by submitting the form, they had agreed to leave a review. Now, you could see this as malicious. I really hope that people don't. But the idea is that they've already feel like they've committed by clicking 5 and kind of submitting that. And so now we're messaging, thank you for agreeing, I appreciate that. And then another thing we're doing here is we're saying, doesn't have to be an essay or anything, like trying to kind of downplay how much time it'll take, any review will help me to improve my apps for you. Because this is kind of the core of this thing, is like, a review will help me to get more installations. It'll be social proof for other people looking to install the app. But on the other hand, me getting more installations and more people installing my app and more users will allow me to focus more on my apps and potentially hire or build better features. And so when people leave reviews, they're indirectly helping themselves. And so if you can communicate this, then you can actually kind of increase the probability that people will want to leave a review. Then another thing we're doing is that same thing. We're sending an email, but this one's worded slightly differently. So thanks for leaving your rating of my app, since that's what that first form was. Already, just knowing that you've enjoyed it is helpful. So I'm trying to make them kind of feel like validated and like they've done me a favor. But then I'm asking them to share the rating on the marketplace. Same thing, same wording as above. Any social proof for other people will help me to improve my apps for you. And then I give them that link again, just because if they click on that link at first, or if they get redirected there and they're busy or whatever and they close it, I want them to have that link very easily at the top of their inbox so that they can go in and leave a review maybe when they're a little bit less busy. So that's the thought behind that. And by the way that is handled is that first form. So this review form, let's see if I can edit this. So what we're doing is we're passing in C and A. These are our query parameters that allow us to link to that customer. And then we have our redirect URL. So that looks like this. It's a redirect URL with a path. And then when the review is 5, then we're showing this positive response. And when the review is less than 5, we're showing this negative response. And then we're also attaching these query parameters to our next, to our redirect URL, because that's where we're going to handle this stuff and figure out where to send them. So if this is where that redirects to, so it's this pathway, and we're getting that customer app and rating from the URL. We're inserting that review because I store them in its own table, and then we're getting the app data like install type and app ID. This is what's necessary to actually construct the URL we're sending them to. And then we're putting together this URL. So if it's a 5-star rating, we're going to send them to the app marketplace where they can leave a review. And if it's a negative review, then we're going to send them to a separate form on Tally where we'll collect their feedback. And then we have this task that we're running right before we redirect them to the installation page. And this is what actually triggers that backend function that sends them the text and the message. So that's how that works. And then if they were to say, put less than 5 stars, then they're going to end up on this form right here, which is super basic. We're passing in the review ID. So if we see, where was that? It was right here. So for negative review feedback, that's this Tally form. And then we're passing in a review ID. And that review ID is going to allow us to link this customer to a certain installation or a certain review in our table. Sorry, and then that'll allow us to update that review in the table with the feedback that they gave us. And so we're saying, what could I do better? And then finally, at the end of all this, once they have, if they've given less than 5 stars and if they filled out the feedback, then we're going to send myself a notification about this, and then we're going to send them a notification saying, hey, I got your feedback. I'm going to reach out to you and see what I can do to basically just get you to a 5-star rating here. But yeah, that's basically the whole system. I mean, this shit was not fucking fast to build. As you could see, I spent 13 hours on this so far, and some of it was pretty fucking monotonous and not fun, and I still don't think it's the most strongest thing in the world. I mean, I'm using tally.so for forms and Cal. I mean, I do think that using Tally and cal.com for forms and bookings is better than building it yourself. You just have way more like tech debt when you build it yourself. And I those are both free. Tally and Cal are basically like, their goal is be the free like form solution, and then be the free calendar solution, like Calendly and then Typeform basically. And they have enterprise offerings, which is how they make their money. But for you and me, it's completely free. It's super awesome. They have a ton of features, and so yeah, I think overall this is going to be really strong. I'm going to be able to get a notification every time someone installs my app or takes an action or does anything, and I can reach out to them and kind of see what the impetus was and if there's a way to make my app better, or if I'm lacking some sort of product market fit, anything like that. I'll be able to figure out, and this should improve my speed of iteration and kind of ability to find customers, match customers, build business. I don't know, make money. Anyways, thanks for watching. My brain's fried after all this, but yeah, thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want more.